Today's video is on converting fractions to decimals. We are going to look at two different types of questions. The first type of question is where the denominator can be converted to a power of 10. And when we're talking about powers of 10, I mean 10, 100, 1000, and so on. If you look at each of these fractions, the denominator, if we multiply the denominator by a particular number, we can convert it to a power of 10. So in our first example, to convert 5 to 100, we can convert 5 to 100 by timesing by 20. Of course, whatever you do to the denominator, you need to do to the numerator. So this gives us a fraction of 40 over 100, which is the same as 0.40. Or even better, just 0.4. Our next example, we can convert the 25 to 100 by timesing by 4. This gives us an equivalent fraction of 24 over 100, which is the same as 0.24. This third example, we can convert the 50 to 100 by timesing by 2. This gives us 6 over 100, which is the same as 0.06. So I can see I've got 6 hundredths, and that's why the 6 is in the hundredths place. Sorry about my writing. Now, over the page, I've left two examples. So now is a good time for you to pause the video, and you can do these two examples, and then you can check your answers with mine. So, same exact process as before. We're going to convert the denominators to a power of 10. Here, let's grab my pen. Here, I can times the 4 by 25. So 4 times 25 is 100. And then 5 times 25, well, 25 times 4 is 100, so we're getting one more lot of 25, so that must be 125. And if I divide 125 by 100, I get 1.25. Here, instead of going to 100, this is a good example because we're going to actually go to the next power of 10. We're going to go to 1,000. I can convert 250 to 1,000 by timesing by 4. So that gives me 28 all over 1,000. So 7 4s are 28, and 250 times 4 is 1,000. And now I'm going to convert that to a decimal. So remember that when we divide by 1,000, we're just moving the dot, and the dot is currently where the 28 is. So I'm going to do 4 moves, or I'm going to move the decimal place 4 times to the left. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Is here, and then those empty humps will get filled with 0. So it's going to be 0.0028. 0.0028. Beautiful. All right, that's the first type of question where you can convert your denominator to a power of 10. But what do we do when your denominator can't be converted to a power of 10? So let's have a look at a couple of examples. Remember that fractions are just division questions. That bar in the fraction is saying that we've got 6 divided by 15. And so to convert any fraction to a decimal, we can just do a simple division problem. So we've got our numerator, we've got 6, that's my dividend, and the 15 is my divisor. So the dividend is the 6 goes in the tent. Dividend in the tent. The divisor, the denominator number, goes outside. Now, in these division questions, it's a very good idea to always put in your decimal place so that you don't have to think about it later. And in a whole number, we've got 6 that we're dividing into. The decimal place is at the end. So I'm going to put a decimal place next to the 6, and I'm going to line it up with the decimal place that I will eventually use during this question. I'm going to make my division bar a bit longer. So first we want to check, can 15 go into 6? Well, it's too big. So I'm going to say it goes in 0 times, and put down another 0. And now I'm going to see if 15 goes into 60, which it does. 15 times 2 is 30, and 30 times 2 is 60. So 15 must go inside 4 times with no remainder. So that's the end of the question. 6 divided by 15 is 0.4. So just a simple division problem. 19 over 4 is my next fraction. So once again, it's just a simple division question where we've got 19 being divided by 4. 19 is my dividend. 4 is my divisor. The divisor is the number that's going into the dividend. Dividend goes in the tent. The divisor goes outside. So line up my decimal place. Make sure you've got both of them. So the decimal place in a whole number is always at the end. We've got the other decimal place here. That will be helpful when I'm completing my question. So can 4 go into 1? No, it can't, but it can go into 19. How many times? 4 into 19, well, close will get us is 4 times, because 4 fours are 16. That leaves me a remainder of 3. Whenever you have a little remainder written and there's no number next to it, that's when we put down a 0. 4 can go into 30 7 times. Once again, little remainder. There's no number next to it, so we put down a 0. And now we're looking at 4 into 20. 4 goes into 20 exactly 5 times. So it turns out that 19 over 4 is the same as 4.75. So we've converted both these fractions to decimals. All right, on this page, I've got 2 examples, and this might be a good time for you to give them a go. Pause the video, try them, and then check your answers with me. So we've got 5/8, and once again, division questions, or fractions, fractions are just division questions. That little bar means divide, and we've got a dividend, that's the number on the top, and a divisor, the number on the bottom, the number that's going into the number on the top. So we're going to get our we're going to get our division bar drawn up. The dividend, which is my numerator, goes in the tent. The divisor goes outside. Big decimal place. So very obvious that you can't miss it. All right, sorry about that. My stylus is not my friend. Okay, can 8 go into 5? No, it's too big. So we're going to add a 0. We're going to check if 8 can go into 50. Now I know that 8 6s, really need to know your times tables well, 8 6s are 48. And that means I'll have a remainder. If it's 48 and I'm going into 50, I'll have a remainder of 2. Little remainder, put down a 0. 8 can go into 20 2 times. That's 16. That gives me a remainder of 4. And then I need a 0 again. So now I'm going 8 into 40. Well, 8 goes into 40 exactly 5 times. No remainder. It's the end of my question. Last example here is 3 divided by 200. So the dividend is going in the tent. The divisor is going outside. Decimal place very, very clearly drawn. Can 200 go into 3? Definitely not. Put a 0 down. Can 200 go into 30? Still no. No times. So we need another 0. Can 200 go into 300? Yes, it can. 1 time exactly. And it leaves a remainder of 100. Hopefully that's clear. Sorry. Change my pen. It doesn't look very clear. So the remainder is 100. Now, when you have a remainder and there's no number that follows, you need to put a 0 down. So when we next divide, we're doing 200 into 1,000. 1000. 200 into 1,000. So we had a remainder of 100, and then because there was no number next to it, I needed an extra 0. 200 goes into 1,000 exactly 5 times. No remainder. That's the end of the question. I've left one more for you, actually, rather than finishing there. We've got one more to go that you can try. 5 divided by 16. There's my dividend in the tent. There's my divisor. 5 divided by 16. Decimal places lined up. Can 16 go into 5? Oh, they've vanished on me. 16 can't go into 5. Let's check if it can go into 50. 16 can go into 50 exactly, well, not exactly, 3 times, and 16 times 3, let's just check what 16 times 3 is. 6 3s are 18, carry the 1, 3 1s plus 1 is 4, so I'm close to 50. My remainder is 2. Add a 0. Can 16 go into 20? Yes, it can. Exactly once. Remainder 4, nothing there, so I put a 0. Can 16 go into 40? Yes, it can. It can go twice. I know that 16 3s are 48, so it definitely can't go 3 times. I'm going to work out what 16 times 2 is. I can just do it underneath. 6 2s are 12, carry the 1. 2 1s plus 1 is 3, so 32. That would leave me with a remainder of 8. Add a 0. Can 16 go into 80? I think it can. So I know that 16 times 3 is 48. So I need to estimate a little bit that I definitely it wouldn't be 16 times 4 because that wouldn't get me from 48 to 80. Let's have a check down here if 16 times 5 will work. 6 5s are 30. 5 1s plus 3 are perfect. Gives me 80. So 16 goes into 80 exactly 5 times. No remainder. That's the end of the question. I hope this video is clear enough to help you to understand how to convert fractions into decimals. 2 types of questions to consider. There were the types where your denominator could be converted to a power of 10. So we've got here converting to 100 with these questions, and then easily from there to fractions. And we had a few where we converted to, one question where we converted to 1,000. And then the second type of question where you did some sort of division, because that's all fractions questions are.